daughter, Samar. Jacqueline calls me the Iron Papa. Okay. That said, what we're going to discuss today is number one, I talked about this. If you saw me on the Clubhouse, we talked about number one, lead generation. Number two, pre-qualification process. Number three, the listing presentation. Doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it the listing presentation. You can call it the listing consultation, whatever you want to call it. It's showing up and it's presenting, it's delivering value, and it's helping those sellers feel really, really confident and comfortable hiring you. So lead generation. Here's the question with lead generation. What is your superpower? I love that. When I ask what's your superpower, anybody want to just, any couple people want to shout that, tell us what's your superpower? I would just put it right in the chat if you can. Add it to the chat and McKenna can share a couple of them. What is your superpower if you know what it is? Love to hear your thoughts. And while we're doing that, McKenna, anybody putting superpowers in there?
Adam says discovery. Jennifer, meeting people where they're at. Savannah, ability to connect. Dimitri, tech automation. Ringless voicemail. Those are great ones.
All amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And for you that didn't share, I'd be thinking about that. Maybe you don't know exactly what it is right now. I would encourage you to spend some time thinking about that so that you know when you show up, what is your superpower? All right. That said, let me jump into some of these tactics here. When I talk about lead generation, I first want to preface it with only work with motivated people. I mean, listen, I would literally say, if you implement that, you can end this webinar right now and you walked away with the gem that's going to help you for the rest of your life. Like literally, if you only say from now on, I will only work with the most motivated people, that can change your business right there. And when I talk about motivated, I'm meaning people that are motivated to do business now. Now, there are some people that may be motivated. They're just not ready to do business right now at this moment. So that would just be a follow-up process. And we're going to talk about follow-up a little bit later, but you want to find people that are motivated and people that want to achieve a goal and not just waste your time, not just see if we can sell my house for, 20% more than it's worth. Those are not the people we are looking for. So some areas of lead generation. Number one, sphere of influence database. I put that on the top of the list because I believe, and although I'm a FSBO guy, people know me from FSBO's expireds. I truly believe that your sphere of influence, your database is your gold mine. I believe those are the people that know, like, and trust you. And those are the people you can always fall back on, to help when you need business. They're willing to refer you. If you're working your database the right way, it's a great source of continual business. Some other sources: for sale by owner. I talked about that. For rent by owner, right? Going on, finding people that are thinking about renting homes themselves, reaching out to them and asking if they thought about buying. It's actually something that a good friend of mine, Michael Wiseman, does a ton with. Expired sellers, right? We all know that. Homes that were on the market that didn't sell the first time. Old expireds, going back 2 years, 3 years, sometimes 5 years, going back to people that were selling in the past that didn't sell. Now, hey, I know, I'll tell you what, where I am, the market's in a much better place. Absentee owners, those are people that are rental. They own properties. They don't live in them. Maybe they're rental units. Maybe they're some other type of unit. Reaching out to them to find out if they'd be interested in cashing out. Circle calling, right? Calling around your listings, calling around solds, open houses, whatever. Here's something to think about: wholesaling, right? There's a lot of people now. We're coming into some markets changing a little bit. Nobody knows exactly when or how, but things are going to change. So start thinking about wholesaling, right? Is that something that I can offer as an option? And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a wholesaler, but maybe you have an investor that that's waiting, and he's waiting and they have cash. So when you find the right house and a person has to act fast, you can bring them a cash offer and get their home closed in 10 days or less. So definitely something you should start thinking about. Short sales is another thing that we may start seeing more of. So I would start maybe reaching out to some lenders, talking about short sales. Social media, right? Great place to find business. Facebook, Instagram. I know there's some specialists, some people at social media are a lot better than I am. But I'll tell you what we like to do is we want to create an omnipresence where we're on social media, we're in postcards, we're showing up in their voicemails. I think it was Demetrius that mentioned ringless voicemails. We're showing up in their voicemails. We're showing up on their Facebook. We're showing up everywhere. We send them postcards, right? We call them. That's what I call omnipresence, as well as open houses. And there's so many more. By the way, McKenna, did we miss any? Anybody want to type in the chat? What did we miss? Is there any other ones that maybe I didn't mention that people are having success with? Any of these particular areas of lead generation?
Not that I'm seeing. The last one was Dimitri with tech automation. Savannah says vacant.
Okay. Yep. Vacant. Okay. Love it.
That just came in.
Vacant might fall under the absentee owner thing.
Ronaldo said probate and divorce.
Oh, yeah. Probate. That's a really good one as well. Yep. Absolutely. Probate, divorce. Okay. Any more?
That's it at the moment.
All right. So we just gave you some great sources of leads. If you want, take a screenshot of this, or again, if you want I'll happy to share the slides with you. Either way, there's some ideas. You just had a few more as well. Now I'm going to jump over to step one, find the lead, right? If there are no leads, there are no closings. That's one thing I learned from hanging around at my past company for a long time, is the first step to any successful business is lead generation. So step number 2, we have a lead and we pre-qualify the lead. By the way, I'm going to be opening the mics at about 15 minutes to get to some questions, some ahas, and dig a little bit deeper on some of this stuff. So if you have questions, either you can type it in the chat now or write down your questions and I will address them at the end. Looks like we have a few people, McKenna, looking to jump in. All right. So pre-qualification, here's my thought process on that. Okay. Ready for this? Be a detective. Man, I'll tell you what, when I started in this business, somebody told me, he said, I want you to act like an interested detective, like somebody that's trying to solve a case. Like when you're connecting with people, when you're talking to people, when you're talking about their property, why they're moving, why they're doing what they're doing, I want you to act like you're trying to solve a case. You're trying to solve a puzzle, put all the pieces together. That's what a detective does, right? They don't just end at a surface level answer. They solve the case. They figure out the problem. And how they do that is they ask great questions and listen. Can't say enough about listening. I don't know if any of you guys were in my room a couple of weeks ago with Chris Voss, and we spent about a week doing some different mock role plays and stuff. And listening is huge. It's massive. It's a skill. Some people are really good at it, and some people are like me. They have to learn and they have to practice to get good at it. But I'll tell you what, when you get good at it, it opens up the doors to the next level. So learn to listen. So some topics that we want to talk about when it comes to pre-listing is I like to think about topics to understand. So number 1 is motivation. Okay. Motivation, meaning why is that spelled wrong for some reason? It looks like it's motivate. Okay. Anyway, so I see that's a squirrel. What I like to look at is motivation. Are they motivated? Okay. Is this somebody that's worth me spending time with? Is this somebody I'm going to invest my energy into? I have to look at that because I only have so much time. Everybody on this call, I want to first say thank you for investing your time here. You've invested time to come on here, and I want to make sure it's a good use of your time today. Same thing. When we're meeting with a client, we want to make sure that it is a good use of our time, because a lot of times we don't think about it, but when we're spending time with one person, we're actually taking away from time we could be spending with thousands or hundreds of thousands of other things and people. By the way, as we're going through this, I would ask everybody, please write down things. If anything resonates with you, I'm going to ask you for some ahas at the end, and anything that resonates, please write it down so we can share that. So the first thing we want to get is motivation. But before I even get there, I want to back up a little bit. When I think about the pre-listing presentation or the pre-listing, you can call it a pre-listing or a pre-listing presentation. This is a great time where you can also get them information about your company, your process for selling, all the things you do to market the house. So we send out a pre-listing packet. Back in the day, it was an actual packet. It was like a 27-page booklet. We had it all printed, nice, glossy paper. We would have it delivered or we would send it in the mail, depending on the situation. Then we switched to a nice video presentation, which we still have. And we're also adding that now to a Zoom meeting. So now, not just a phone call, but I can jump on a Zoom with a seller and find out why they're selling, what's important to them about the sale. And here's the other question I want to know. Write this down. What's your plan B? Let's just say the house doesn't sell. What's your plan B? Oh, man, it's a powerful question. And you know what you're going to hear is most people are going to say, well, I hadn't really thought about that. Yeah, it's the same way I approach for sale by owners when I call. All the other agents are saying, hey, if I have a buyer, you're going to pay me a percentage. I say, listen, I don't even work with buyers. I want to know, I want to be plan B. Like, if your home doesn't sell, what's your plan B? And they're going to be like, geez, I hadn't even really thought about that. Perfect. I want to apply for that job. So, I mean, I'm only using that because I took that from my pre-qualification process. Here's another powerful one. What are they looking for in the agent that they hire? I love a few people to type in the chat. Why do you think I asked that question? Why do I ask them what are they looking for in an agent? Type in the chat. Love to get some ideas. McKenna, anything in the chat?
Not yet. They must still be typing away.
Okay, awesome.
Adam says, so you can sell back to them what they are looking for.
Adam, yes, sir. I love it. Yes, man. Let's say you ask somebody, and I've done this. Well, what do you get? If you did hire another agent, and that's in the case of maybe an expired, what are you looking for in the agent? Well, you know what? I want an agent that really knows how to do an open house, or I want an agent that runs open houses. Okay, awesome. What else? Oh, I'm looking for somebody that understands marketing. Okay, anything else? Well, you know what? I want somebody that's whatever, is trustworthy, right? Okay, so now we've gone through, we understand what they're looking for. Now we can show up that way. So when somebody says, I'm looking for an agent that knows marketing and does open houses, I'm going to show up with the most ridiculous open house strategy on the planet, right? I'm going to have 60 signs at my open house. I'm going to door knock 100 homes in the neighborhood. I'm going to have flyers. I'm going to run Facebook ads to all the homes in their neighborhood. I mean, I'm going to have the open house plan is going to blow them away, and it's going to combine with my marketing efforts. Does that make sense? It's exactly what Adam said. I'm giving them what they want. Here's another great question. On a scale of 1 to 10, right? This is a condition question, right? So you talk about motivation, you talk about expectations. What are they looking for in the agent? Now we jump to property. So on a scale of 1 to 10, Mr. Seller, 10 being the house is amazing, like the Taj Mahal, move in, and 1 being it's like a legit knockdown. Where would you rank the condition? They'll say, well, maybe it's a 7. Okay, great, 7. So let's talk about that. What makes it a 7, Mr. Seller? Well, the kitchen's outdated, bathrooms are outdated. Okay, perfect. And anything else? What would it take, Mr. Seller, to get that up to a 9 or a 10? Well, we'd probably need to replace the roof. So now are we starting to learn some stuff about the property, right? Now we're going to jump down to pricing. So this is an area, or this is a time where I want to start getting an idea of their pricing. Now, I'm not giving them pricing here, by the way. Armando, I don't know if you're on the call still. Armando was asking me about this earlier. I'm not giving them pricing right now. I'm getting an idea of what they feel the price of the house should be. And some sellers don't want to tell you that. You're going to hear things like, well, that's why I called you, or that's what I'm looking for you to help me with. Great. That's perfect. I'm just curious. Were there any other homes in your neighborhood that you're aware of that were similar to yours that sold. Oh yeah, actually, 123 Main Street sold. Okay, great. And how'd that? And that one sold for how much? Oh, that was 425. Okay, awesome. And how does that compare to your home? Oh, well, my home's way better than that. Okay, great. So how so? Well, we have blah 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 blah. Right now, you're starting to get an idea. So obviously, your home would your home sell for more than that home, or how much more do you think you'd get for your home than that home? And they're going to tell you. Another great way to find out is, well, have you gone on Zillow? Have you taken a look at Zillow or some of the other sites to see this estimate? Because Mr. Seller, that's what the buyers are looking at. Oh yeah, we looked at it. Great. So what'd you think of this estimate? Well, I don't know. I thought it was a little bit low. Well, how low? Guys, listen, there's so many ways to get sellers to kind of give us an idea of what they're thinking on pricing. Again, this is not the time I'm going to say, oh no, that's not the right price, because I haven't seen the house yet. But at least I'm getting an idea. So now after we hang up, I'm going to go and I'm going to do some homework. I'm going to run some comps. Now, all of a sudden the seller tells me, well, I think my house is worth 450, but then when I run comps, it's coming in at 300. We got a problem. So now I got to call the seller back and I got to say, hey, I'm just curious. I did a little bit of homework. What's causing you to feel your home is worth 450? Does this make sense? And if you have questions, feel free. McKenna, keep your eyes on the chat. We're going to open it up pretty soon. Reservations. Here's an interesting one. Do they have reservations? Meaning, are they meeting with other agents? Are they going to list now? Are they planning to list later? Are they just using us for information? I don't know about you, but I've met with sellers before where I showed up and they had the other agent's listing presentation. I met with a for sale years ago. I met with a for sale by owner. Okay. Not only they were for sale by owner, they took the other agent's listing presentation and the market analysis and they whited out all the agents' logos and stuff. And we're using that to show to people that showed up at their house. Man, that's pretty right there. I don't even know what to say about that. Right. I've seen that. So what are they doing? Are they just trying to get information from us? Or are they actually motivated and are they really, really looking to do business? And again, are they meeting with other agents? Why do I want to know that? So I know what I'm up against. Depending on the agent, crap, sometimes we used to bring statistics. I'll bring the other agent's numbers. I'll take the other agent. See, one of the benefits we had was we were one of the top teams in our market. So it'd be hard for anybody to beat us in the numbers. And that doesn't always work. Sometimes it's not about that. But I would bring numbers. All right. Any questions before I jump on to the next?
I do have one question from Dmitry that asked, what about running comps as part of pre-listing packet? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a good question, Dimitri. Now, are you suggesting, can we unmute Dimitri for a minute? Be curious to
let's see. Dimitri, can you
yes, I'm here.
Yeah, real quick, Dimitri. So tell us, what are you thinking that we're going to give them the comps now or just to discuss?
So here's the thinking. Let's say I'm setting up a listing presentation, appointment is set. I'm saying in advance of the listing presentation, here's a pre-listing packet. It's all online. And one of those things I want to include there is RPR report with comps on the property, right?
Sure.
Just basically, hey, this is not what we are saying your home is going to sell for. These are just some facts that are out there, right? And when we get to the listing presentation, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with that, Dimitri. I don't have an issue with that. It's not my typical process. Because I'm in New England, so we have kind of a unique landscape where there'll be a lot of different style and types of homes mixed together, right? You may have a colonial that's 2,500 square feet next to a ranch that's 1,400 square feet. So it's a little harder to. In some areas, maybe down west, all the homes are pretty similar. In that case, I think that might make a little bit more sense. But again, I'm not against it, but that's just not my process. I want to do a little bit of homework. And then when I show up either at the listing appointment or the next call, I'm going to have my number or at least a range?
We actually have something like this oftentimes as well, where different types of homes are mixed up. But the idea is just to give them some facts, so that so many facts that they don't know what to do with them, and that's why they have to meet us so that we explain what it is.
Sure. And just remember too, now sellers have access online before they even call us. They go to Zillow, they go to Redfin, they go to all these other sites, and they're kind of doing a little bit of homework. So don't let them fool you by saying they have no idea. Trust me, they have an idea and they're doing some homework. So that's typically not something I personally send. But again, I'm not against it. I know there's other people that do it. And especially if you're in an area where most of the homes are similar. All right, but good question, Dimitri. Thank you for that. I'm going to jump into the listing presentation now. Here's what I like to say about the listing presentation. It's showtime. You guys know Michael Buffer. That's Bruce Buffer. It's time. Anyway, it's showtime, right? Michael Buffer does Let's Get Ready to Rumble. Okay, it's time to show up, right? How do I show up now? I've just done all this work. I did my lead generation. I went through this amazing call with them. Either it's a call or a Zoom. Now I show up at the house. It's showtime. It's time to show up. So I asked this question earlier. What's your value proposition? Like, do we even know what value am I bringing to the table? I am an expert at positioning and negotiating. That's what I believe my value to a seller is I'm going to position your home the right way. And then I'm going to negotiate for you so that we get you every single penny out of that house. So what does positioning mean? It means marketing. It means putting your house in the best position. Now, you don't hear a lot of other agents talk about positioning. They talk about marketing. I like positioning. Okay. So what's the value prop? What are you showing up? Gary V once said to me on my podcast, I had Gary V on my podcast, and he asked me, he said, what's your truth? I thought that was an awesome question. Like, what do you mean? What's my truth? Like, what's your truth, man? What do you do? Why should somebody hire you? Like, what do you bring to the table? Man, we got to be really clear on that. And if we're not, man, they're going to know. They're going to know. So when you show up, here are the things you want to focus on. Connection. I think it was, I don't know if Peggy's on the call. I know she was on our Zoom. She kind of mentioned the disc, the connection. The connection is, depending on the person you're meeting with, how do I show up? How do I connect? If somebody's a high D and they just want to know, listen, just dude, tell me how much my house is worth. What's it going to cost me? Then that's what I'm going to give them. If somebody else is more analytical and they want to sit down and they want to discuss numbers and they want to see all the past solds, and then that's what I need to give them. Or maybe it's somebody else that wants to connect on more of a social and emotional level, and they need that trust. Well, that's what I need to give them. I need to sit down with them. I need to talk about whatever they want to talk about, maybe family, maybe sports, maybe tour the house at a much slower pace, right? Build rapport, talk about pictures, anything, right? I'm meeting people where they are. The other thing I ask everybody to do is tablet. I'll tell you what, right now, for the last 3 years, I've used a tablet for my presentation. Everything's on my tablet. So when I meet with somebody, I have everything I need there, and it's connected to Wi-Fi. So I'll have my market analysis, I have my presentation, and most importantly, I have my listing agreement. So think about it, a professional interview. Anybody else thinking their listing appointment as a professional interview? Like I'm interviewing for the job of selling your home. I'm not just meeting. We're not just having a listing presentation. This is an interview. I'm interviewing. Anybody think of it like that? So now after we show up, I want you to think about the tour. My favorite, I'm a high D, as a lot of you probably can tell. Some of you know me from Clubhouse. Some of you just know me from coaching or other things that I do. I'm a high D. My favorite appointment was another high D seller. It was a 17-minute, and this was about a $600,000 listing. 17 minutes in and out. He already did his homework. He studied my pre-listing packet, so he knew I could get the job done. We had the call, and I met him at the door. I says, what would you like to do first? Did you want to discuss the paperwork, or did you want to tour the house? He said, let's just discuss the paperwork. He just wanted to know how much the house would sell. You know, he wanted to know what I thought it was going to sell for, what the time frame was, and how much we were going to charge him. Once he had those three, he signed the agreement. We did like a 6-minute walk through the house, and that was it. I walked out the door with a $600,000 listing in 17 minutes. That's a high. That's my favorite one. If anybody can beat that, by the way, I challenge you to do that. Okay. Now, again, tablet, make sure you have a tablet. It's just going to show you tech savvy. Also have some videos on there. You know, some videos. We have a lot of different videos. You can have seller testimonials, all kinds of really good stuff on the tablet. That's why I like to carry a tablet, because it's showing, first off, you're tech savvy, and you got so many more tools and resources that you could have on that tablet. Property tour. Here's one tip I'm going to give for today. As you're giving the property tour, please don't give feedback. And I know they're going to ask you, they're going to say, well, can you give me some feedback and tell me some of the things I can fix? Here's what I'll tell you. And I learned this the hard way. They're going to hold it against you. If you tell them the house smells like dog, they're going to hold it against you. You know, a friend of mine, he was sharing on one of his listing appointments how he was going through the whole house, and then the owner like opened up the son's room, like her son, and she kind of like looked back and looked at him, and he said it was black, like all the walls were painted pure black. It had black carpet. It had the old, what's that light? You know, that light that like makes things glow. I think it's called blue light or something, or green light. And it was just like this funky room. And he said the seller was looking at him to see what he said. And he said he looked at her right in the eyes and says, hey, it's a good sized room. How's that? Is that amazing or what? Like legit. Don't ever give bad feedback, because they will hold it against you. You start giving feedback after the listing agreement is signed. Okay. The next thing I would say is be a consultant, not an agent. So we talk about answer questions or ask questions, but answering questions for them. Ask what questions they have. I want them doing majority of the talking. I ideally want them doing 70 to 80% of the talking, and I'm answering questions. They're asking, I'm answering. Next thing, discuss market, right? The trends, what's happening. This is typically when you would, after the tour, after the questions, this is when you're going to typically get into price. Okay, so based on, again, write this down, everybody. Based on the market, based on the research I've done, based on RPR, based on whatever you're using, this is what the market's showing us. This is what the market's telling us we should be pricing the house at. And I always give a range because I don't know. In my market, it's changing a bit now, but for the last 3 or 4 years, homes have been selling over asking price. This started in 2017, and the only time it slowed down was during the beginning of COVID. So I wish I could I can't give you an exact number. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you these are the ranges. And then finally, reservations. I want to know, again, are they meeting with other agents? Will they list now? Are they just trying to gather information? All right. And then finally, the final step, and then I'm going to open up for questions. The closing. And here's what I would say. And this is in my book, The Sales Playbook. I interviewed Gary Keller, and he said, when you go through these steps, when you go through the steps the right way with a client and you ask them for the close, it should be the only next logical step. Meaning everything you've done has wowed them or impressed them at such a high level that when you say, are you ready to put me to work? It's the only logical thing for them to say is yes. It means I've done my job. It means I'm a professional. I showed up. I want you to think about that. If that's not happening for you, then we're missing steps somewhere. Something is missing. Again, we're opening up very soon. So please Think about your questions. Write down any questions you have or comments or ahas. Don't be a professional visitor. Don't show up being a visitor. You're there as a professional. You're there to get the listing and to get the job done. That's the intention. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I know there's some agents that go out there without listing agreements or listing paperwork. That's one of the benefits to having a tablet. I have the pencil, the iPad pen. At any point, I can pull up my listing agreement and I can have them sign on my tablet and then
Thank you for
email it right
patiently
back to
holding
them.
me. You should be receiving that email within 5 minutes.
Yes. Thank you, Savannah. Appreciate that email. Okay. So make sure you show up like a professional. Have your paperwork in order. Do not be a professional visitor. Nobody wants a visitor. And here's something. When you show up as a professional, you go through a presentation or a consultation with a seller, and then at the end, you don't ask for business. They get concerned about that. Interesting. I wonder how he's going to respond when a buyer comes through the house and they don't ask that buyer if they want to buy the house. Remember, we're interviewing, they're checking us out. All right. So here's what I learned from Gary. They organically hire us. So we want to know, what are they thinking or feeling? Any unfinished business. So when I say, what are they thinking or feeling? It's interesting because a lot of times, and I've seen this in the past, a seller, I'll be going through my presentation or consultation. I don't do it as much anymore. And they may either give me a look or maybe they'll make a comment or be like, and yet I don't stop and address that. That's what I call unfinished business. I want to know. It's the small agreements. So as we're going through things, I want to always be asking, so how are you feeling? Does this make sense? Are there more questions? What are your thoughts so far? Right? What am I missing? I love asking those types of questions. So we want to make sure there's no unfinished business. And again, I'm going to bring you back to the close. Ask for the close. And here's the simplest close in the world. Are you ready to put me to work? That's it. I don't think it gets any easier than that. What do you think, McKenna? McKenna, are you ready to put me to work?
I'm ready.
You ready? All right, awesome. Okay, and always have your agreements. I already said this. Always have your agreements in place. And then finally, close for the business, or remember I said earlier, I get 75%. Sometimes they're either not ready to do business right now. They might have somebody else they're doing business with, whatever the case is. 70% of my business actually comes as a result of follow-up. So here's the challenge. When I say this, sometimes people will say, well, if 70% of your business comes from follow-up, why do you close all the time? Because the only way we find out is if we close. I was just with somebody who met with somebody, didn't close. They had a great conversation, didn't close, didn't ask for the business, told the seller they were going to go do some homework, get back to him, okay, with a price. Didn't call him back for 5 days. When they called back, they had listed with another agent a day before because they didn't ask for the close. So again, 70% will come as follow-up, but always be asking for the close. If you don't love my line, are you ready to move forward? Are you ready to put me to work? However you want to say it. There's another one. Do you feel comfortable moving forward with us? And then what I would say for follow-up, make sure you have a good CRM, some type of a system in place where you can add people to your system. Okay. You don't want to have to think about it. I don't want to have to think about, you know what? I called John Smith last week and man, we had a really good conversation. No, I don't want to have to remember that. I want to be able to log into my CRM and then it tells me call John Smith. That's a real follow-up system. And here's what sellers want, by the way. Sellers don't necessarily want your recipes. I mean, in some cases, maybe they do. They don't want, they don't necessarily always want coupons and stuff. Some cases they do, but I'll tell you what they do want. They want to know about the neighborhood. They want to know about value on their home. They want to know what's happening locally that affects their value. That's what sellers are looking for. So that's what we need to give them. So that's why it says have a CRM with built-in IA, artificial intelligence, ways that you can give sellers the information that they're looking for. Okay, awesome. So now I'm going to jump to some takeaways, a few questions, and I'd love to hear some implementation. So the way we're going to do this, I'm not just going to open it up for everybody. If you have a question, please just raise your hand if you'd like to talk, or if you want to just type it in the chat. I'm happy to do it that way as well. So
David, we have a question from Rob in the chat. And he says, do you have any tips on virtual video listing appointments? I've been hearing about agents who are having a lot of success getting listings via Zoom without even setting foot into the house or meeting the seller in person.
Yes, Rob, absolutely. 100%. We were doing that post Zoom. However, yeah, yes, absolutely. It can work. We have kind of gotten back to going to the houses, but here's the one thing I want you to know is I personally only do business within like a few miles around where I live. So that's my strategy. It's very specific. It's intentional. I am mostly send out a lot of referrals to other agents. That's a big part of my business. So yes, by all means, if you can pull that off, I would encourage that. I am a huge fan of efficiencies and also, yeah, automating. I mean, during COVID, that was one of the things we learned. We took a bunch of listings without ever going to the house. We would have everything done via Zoom, and then we would send our photographer out and then send another person out that would go out, complete the MLS and all that other stuff. So yeah, I absolutely agree. You can do that.
Awesome. And then Armando has his hand raised. Armando, you can unmute yourself if you would like.
Yes, thank you, McKenna. Real quick, on the pre-qualification phone call, do you ask, like the last of your qualification questions, you ask them, if everything sounds good, are you ready to hire me? Or pretty much making sure that they are a real seller and they're not just kicking the tires just to get, a price valuation for maybe like a year or two from now? Is there any kind of like verbiage on that?
100%. Yes, Armando. Yeah. And that, it's funny, that actually used to be the first question, but we moved it to either one of the middle or one of the last questions, just to say, if you feel comfortable and confident in our ability, do you plan to put us to work when we come out, or do you plan to hire us? And a lot of times they'll tell you. And if you go back to that slide, the last step was, finding out if they have reservations. So yes, 100%. That is definitely part of the pre-qual process, figuring out if they plan to hire us today. And, some sellers will say, no, I'm actually meeting with 4 other agents. And then you can decide, if you have a really analytical seller, I would try to be last, just because I know if they're super analytical, they're usually going to go forward with all their meetings, and then they're going to make a decision at the end. But if you have somebody that's like me, that's just a high D, and as soon as I find the right person, I don't want to waste any more time. I'm just going to hire that person on the spot. Then I want to go first. That help, Armando?
Yeah, it really helps. So pretty much you got to find out the personality, and then on that personality, then you want to figure out first or last.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, cool.
If they're meeting with a lot of agents, some people aren't. Some people are meeting with 1 or 2. So, there's great questions to find out if this, like I said, if it's somebody that's just looking for you to give them some ideas of value, or if it's somebody that's really motivated. And you can tell. I mean, we can tell when people are, feeding us, some non-truth to keep it clean today. All right. What other questions do we have? Thank you, Armando.
From Debbie, she asks, if you use a tablet for your presentation and they don't sign because they are interviewing another agent, what, if anything, do you leave behind with them?
Yeah, good question, Debbie, as well. I don't leave anything behind. they already have my pre-listing packet ahead of time. They already have everything they need. If they're not willing to sign, then I'm leaving without signatures. I may still try to get them to sign, maybe post date the listing agreement to, maybe give them a day or 24 hours or whatever, just so that we don't, I'd say to make life easier. In the case, then this is already signed, so that when you make a decision to hire me, then we don't have to come back. We don't have to send all these stuff back and forth. It's signed, but if for some reason you change your mind, then we'll just terminate this agreement, and you can write it right on agreement. So we've actually had people do that. Ironically, we've had people sign the agreement that have done that. And then after they sign it, they're like, you know what, we'll just cancel the other meeting and we'll go forward. So that sometimes happens as well. And I've been able to cancel dozens of meetings in my career. It's not always my favorite thing to do. But you know what? If someone else aggressive is coming in behind me, then they're going to take the listing. So I got to do what I got to do to make sure I take that listing. That's my job. I'm a professional. I'm going out there to take the listing. It's showtime, like I said, and that's the way I treat it. So great question.
Awesome. You want another one?
Yeah.
Jennifer asks, what do you do when you go out to a listing appointment and all the data suggests 400,000, but the seller wants 450,000?
Yeah. Another good question. Again, this is something that I'm going to hopefully figure out before going out during my pre-qual process. But again, depending. So here's the thing. It depends on motivation, because if the seller's motivated enough, then maybe we start a little bit higher and then we reduce the price, because there's going to be some sellers, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, they want to list at the higher price. And then what's going to happen is the next agent's going to come in behind you, tell them what they want to hear. They're going to put it on at the higher price. And then you're going to miss out on an opportunity to help this person. Here's a perfect example. There was a home for sale on Linwood Lane in Worcester. I sold two other houses, one house right on her street, another house on the next street over. So it was a neighborhood I had a lot of experience in. I met with a lady, really nice lady. She was selling her house because she was going into assisted living. Okay, nobody's super excited about going into assisted living, but this was her situation. She liked me. I had a second meeting now with her and her daughter. Her daughter was actually the decision maker, or her daughter was involved in the decision. So I met with her and her daughter, and they wanted to meet a few other agents. So anyway, I went back. 2 days later, she called me. I told her the price. The price in that area was about $285 is what her house was worth, because it was all outdated and stuff. It needed a lot of cosmetics and stuff like that. She was looking for $325. So anyway, 2 days later, she called me personally. She's like, David, I really like you a lot. You came in low on the analysis based on me and my daughter. Would you be willing to list the house at $325? And in my mind, I said, that doesn't, that it just doesn't make sense. If we do that, we're going to, what's going to happen is you're going to miss out on all the, I just gave her the whole spiel, blah, 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 blah. Right. What ends up happening? She says, all right, David, let me talk to my daughter and get back to you. What happened is she listed with another agent. She listed with another agent at $325. Okay. And I was upset. I thought that was a lock listing. She listed at $325. House goes on the market. I'm looking at the MLS. I'm like, that is ridiculous. That is stupid. That's absurd. Ha, ha, ha. How dumb is she? And then 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, bang, the house is down to $309. A week later, bang, the house is down to $299 now. Then the house goes under contract at like $275, $280. Exactly what I said. But the difference was that other agent was a lot smarter than I was. She understood that that motivation trumped price in that scenario. If I was smart, I would have realized, I don't know why, it was my ego that got in the way. If I was smarter, I would have realized this lady was going to assisted living no matter what. And she was going to sell that house, and she was going to do what it took. I just needed to dance with her a little bit. And I missed it. I dropped the ball. Was I right on the price? Of course I was right. I didn't get paid for that. I didn't have a check to bring to the bank. So how do you discuss pricing? To go back to the question, every situation is completely different, but the one thing I would say is motivation trumps price. So if somebody wants to list their house for 450 and the house is worth 4 and they have no motivation, they're testing the market, I'm not the agent for them. I'm going to let them do that with somebody else. And I'd rather be the second agent if they get more serious. But if somebody's serious, like the lady on Linwood Lane, then I'm going to list the house at 325, even though I know it's worth 280, and we're going to dance. Does that help? All right. I'm presuming it does because we have silence. All right. Do we have any more questions?
I have one last question from Harold, who wants to know if you're using, I believe he means your iPad. If you're using your iPad on an appointment, do you have a plan B in case the internet goes out or it's not working?
Yeah, another good question. So I carry this thing with me, Harold. This has a what's it called? A hotspot on it. So I'm always connected to this anyway. But sometimes you would have bad signal, which does happen. So in that case, I also, what I'll do is I take all my documents and I convert them to PDFs. Whoops. Let me stop that. I don't know how I somehow ended up in a, it's funny. I somehow end up in green room when I picked up my phone. So I do convert everything to PDFs. So it's on my tablet anyway. So when I'll do the market analysis, I'll convert it to a PDF. I do a market report, I convert it to a PDF. Everything, the public record, I convert it to a PDF. So I have a folder with all the clients in the tablet. So I can always go to those folders. I have the PDFs, and then I still have the internet connection. And then let's say I do need to get on the internet, which happens sometimes, and I just ask the seller if I can use their Wi-Fi connection. So we're covered. All right. Unless we have any final questions, I want to let you know. Do we have any final questions, McKenna?
We do have a few in the chat, and Dimitri has raised his hand, so it just
Okay.
depends on what you
Just
have
an FYI, we have a very hard stop at 3 p.m. Eastern. So yes, what do we have? Why don't we take, why don't we address those questions real quick? So which questions do we have in the chat?
All right. In the chat, we have, what do you say to a seller who says they have a good friend who is a realtor and they will reach out to them?
Yeah, that's a very tough one. A lot of times you're not going to get beyond that. It's the by far toughest objection you're going to deal with. So in that case, I would ask them if they're open to, getting a second opinion from you. If they're concerned that doing business with a friend may affect the relationship, because here's the problem. In reality, sometimes them not doing business with their friend is going to affect their relationship. So you just pulled up the most challenging, difficult objection there is to overcome. The way around that, sometimes if they don't feel comfortable doing business with their friend, but they're doing it because they feel obligated, sometimes a referral can help. You could offer to give their friend a referral and have you take over, because they don't want to mix business with the relationship, but it's a very challenging one. So I definitely appreciate you bringing that one up. But yes, that is one that you definitely can be creative on. What's the next question?
What are some other motivation questions that you can ask?
Other motivation questions. And if Dimitri, if you could type your question in the chat. Other motivation questions would be, why are you selling? What's most important to you in the sale? What's going to be your plan B if the house doesn't sell? I would also dig deeper on the motivation questions, which we can talk about. I'm going to create an offer for everybody if they're interested. We'll go a lot deeper on all of these, but yeah, you can always dig deep into, not just where are you going, but why is that important to you? And what will that ultimately do for you? And what's that going to look like if that doesn't happen? A few years back, I had a client that had to sell the house because she was terrified that her husband was going to have a heart attack because he was shoveling snow. And the doctor told him not to shovel snow, but because her husband was a stubborn mule and winter was coming, they got an offer a lot lower than they wanted to accept. But I had to remind her that, John was going to go shovel snow this winter, and we're coming into like September, And once I reminded her of that, she got that. She convinced John, the stubborn mule, to take the offer so that they could sell their home and get out of a place where they had to shovel snow. So understanding that motivation is really, really important. And Dimitri, you have the final question, sir. And I want to,
Yes. Do you want me just to read it from the chat?
yeah, please, please. Yes, please.
He wrote, how about pre-negotiated listing price cuts for overpriced listings?
Yes, 100%. If you can get it in the agreement, I would definitely, that would be my first choice. 100%, Dimitri. When you are going into it, some sellers just aren't willing to do that though. So again, I would say case by case, you know, be flexible in what you do here. We offer a 30-day or a 28-day guarantee anyway with our clients. So we let all of our clients know that, listen, if you're not 100% satisfied with us, after 28 days, you can terminate our agreement and go your separate way. And that has never burnt us. I can think of one example where somebody actually exercised that because we get to your house under contract and we offer phenomenal service. So yeah. All right. I want to create an offer for you today. Okay. So what you just experienced was about 10 minutes on each of the activators. I'm actually going to be doing a workshop and it's going to be 2 days. It's going to be July 9th and July 16th from 12 to 2, where we're going to spend an hour on each of these workshops. We're also going to give you access to a membership directory that's going to have a ton of videos and different trainings with regards to each of these steps. So what I want to do is I want to create that. So for people that are interested in taking it to the next level, you can register into that workshop and it's only going to get an investment of $397 to get the workshop. This is full blown, an hour on each step, deep dive, scripts for everything, additional video training, everything you're going to need to be super successful on all of these areas. The other thing is we have a 35 call challenge that starts next week. For people that are interested, you can go to my site, 35callchallenge.com. You can get more details. The 35 call challenge itself is $297. So for people that take advantage of the workshop, we're going to throw in the 35 call challenge right now. Now, again, this is an offer that's good until 8 p.m. tonight. So if you're interested in taking advantage of it, you get both the workshop plus next week's 35 call challenge, where we get together for 5 days together and we make calls, we role play, we script. You're going to have 7 conversations a day over a week, which is going to lead to 35 conversations, lead to 1 listing. So that's what we're creating right now. If you sign up for the activator workshop, you get the 35 call challenge for free. And then for people that are interested in really taking it to the next level, you can jump into my coaching. And by the way, with my coaching, you get both of those included at no additional cost. And the coaching is high level. We meet twice a week. You also have access to my membership directories. You have access to all these events. And if you jump into my coaching, right now, special offer is you get $100 off the coaching the first month, and you get these 2 for free. So that said, if you're interested, McKenna, how do they do that?
Yes, I put all the links in the chat. If you're interested in signing up for the 4 Listing Activators workshop, you can go to activators.davidihill.com. And even for the David's coaching as well, there's both a register link and then there's another link that'll direct you to the David's coaching site as well. So again, that's activators.davidihill.com, and all 3 of those links are on the chat.
I was hoping to have more time for this, but one final time is you can have the activator workshop, $397. You can do the activator work, and I'll throw in the 35 call challenge for free. If you do the coaching, you'll get both of those included. And for some of you that may just only want to do just the workshop, what I'm doing is I'm discounting your workshop $50. Today, you can get into the workshop for $250. So obviously, the best deal there is to jump into the coaching for 3 months. That's an amazing investment. However, if you don't have the resources to do that, then you can get both of these tools for $397. So that said, I wanted to create those offers for you. If you have questions, email me or McKenna. McKenna, can you drop your email address in there? That's my contact information. It's how you get in touch with me. If you're on Clubhouse, please follow me on Clubhouse. Just go to davidhill.club. My Instagram is right there, my YouTube channel, as well as my email and my website. And here's what I say, and I'll let everybody know this. Whenever you take something with me, you take a training with me, I want to make sure you're 100% satisfied. You get what you expected. So if at the end you do something with me and at the end you say, you know what, I didn't get what I expected, then I'm going to train you for free or coach you for free until you get what you expected. So that's my guarantee to you. I want to say I appreciate your time. And if anybody wants this, let McKenna know and we will share it with you. But I'll tell you this, it probably won't be for about a week and a half until we have everything ready on our membership site for the people that are interested. So McKenna, I appreciate you. Everybody that stayed on here, I appreciate every single one of you for joining us. We'd love to see you in the workshop, as well as our next week's 35 call challenge. So either connect with McKenna, myself, or just go to those links and get signed up. And I have to bounce because I have a coaching call that started at 3 o'clock Eastern. Thank you for your time.